Recently, I picked up NCAA Football 10 at a thrift store for like $3. At this point, I'm kind of like, if I see an NCAA football game at a thrift store and it's a few bucks and it's an Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 one, I'm just going to pick it up because they're hard to come by. Though unlike NCAA Football 14, 10 isn't particularly expensive. I mean, you can probably get a copy on eBay complete with the case for something like $8. So it wasn't a huge savings. It's something I could have picked up, elsewhere anyways. Whereas NCAA 14 obviously is historically very expensive. Usually it's over $100 on eBay. It's rare to find a copy less than that. I'm lucky because I own NCAA 14 in its digital form. I purchased it on the Xbox 360 store before it got delisted. And there's so many days where I'm thankful that that's the case and I don't have to worry about the disc ever breaking on me. But sometimes I want to play a college football game. I don't want to go back to one that's, too old or is too poor of graphics. But I also don't want to play NCAA 14, which to a lot of people is the pinnacle of the entire series and ultimately the ending point for it as well. And I've discovered that NCAA Football 10 is maybe the best second alternative in my opinion. And that's coming from someone that hasn't actually played every single NCAA football game. Sure, I had 09, 07, I think even 08 in the PlayStation 2, but I don't know how their Xbox 360 counterparts stack up, but 10 seems like a very solid game for its time. Now, the first thing I'll say about it is the graphics are noticeably worse than 14. That's the difference that 4 years can make, but there are 3 key points I want to make that this game has that I feel like NCAA 14 does not, that makes it be a huge difference in terms of the overall experience. And a reason to own this one in addition to 14 or instead of 14 if you can't afford to pick that one up. Number 1 is the existence of the mascot game mode. This is something that I know was in NCAA Football 09 that I played on the PS2. Basically, you get a team of mascot players rather than traditional football players. It's zany, it's over the top, and it looks really funny. It's not something you'll probably spend a ton of time playing, but it's cool to see the different mascots in action, and it's just a nice novelty that 14 is missing. The Road to Glory, Race for the Heisman, whatever you want to call it, the career mode in NCAA Football 10 is different than what you'd see in 14 in the sense of the presentation. I really like the presentation here, the way you actually have a dormitory to move around in and look. And I get that it's just a menu at the end of the day, but I think it adds a nice novelty to the menu that's kind of lost in just flipping through those generic menus that you have in 14. In addition to the fact that Aaron Andrews is here to kind of give it more of a TV feel, and it really ups the presentation in a sense that I feel like you don't get in the Road to Glory on NCAA 14. But the thing I like the most is the differences in the Dynasty Mode, which is where I spend the majority of my time in any given NCAA football game. I like the whole career of building up a team and trying to make it into the next juggernaut, just taking a low-ranking team. Right now, actually, I've been working on Western Michigan University. That's a 1-star team in there, trying to build it up into a big competitive program. And of course, you do that through recruiting players and trying to get them to come to your school so that in the following years you have a more and more stacked roster. Now in NCAA 14 you do this by just assigning points to the players each week. There's a little bit of scouting and things like that you can do in the menus, but it's not really as intuitive as what you get in NCAA Football 10 because here you actually get the phone call conversation tree similar to what I had done in Maximum Football 2019, and I guess I didn't even realize that it originated in the NCAA football games, and it's very clear to me that the Maximum Football recruiting style is very much a ripoff of what you see here, where you actually are operating a sort of phone tree and you're talking to the player, they have a response back, and then you choose what you want to talk about next to have this ongoing phone conversation with these players before, eventually you either get them to come to your school or you get them to hang up on you, and every week you have these conversations to make them either be more and more impressed with your school or ultimately it could go the opposite way and they could decide to turn away from your school and choose a different one instead. This gives me so much more feeling of a control over actually being able to recruit these players than I have in NCAA 14, where I'm simply just assigning points. And I know here you can do the quick call and you can just assign time and have somebody else call for you, just the AI call for you. But if you actually take the time to call the players yourself, I find this to be very intuitive, and just kind of the mini game that's going on here is a nice break from the regular football action. And it's definitely the one characteristic of the Dynasty Mode that left me most impressed over what you'd see in 14. I just want to say that overall, obviously the graphics, like I said, are worse, but I will say the biggest difference in terms of actual game playability is the strength of the running game. I think the running game is so much more stronger, to a sense maybe a little bit overpowered in 10 versus what you'd see in the other games, and for that reason, if you want to do Road to Glory and play as a running back, I think that would be a great way to go about it, because the running game can be a lot of fun, particularly in the option. So if you're optioning, it seems like your quarterback can be halfway to the ground, nearly on the ground. You can still pull off the pitch like you're playing NFL Street. So it definitely does give you a good sense of flexibility when it comes to getting the pitches off, and it doesn't just go straight into an animation of being tackled. So for the $8 or $10, you can probably find a copy of this on eBay for. If you have any interest in playing an NCAA football game, you don't want to spend $100+ on 14. I really don't think you can go wrong with 10. I know that 12 and 13 run more similar to 14, but I think that 10 is a solid game in its own respect. Thank you guys for watching. I'm Bailey, and I will see you in the next video.